Welcome, everyone. I'm Luann Fortune with Saybrook University and the Department of Mind-Body Medicine, and I'm delighted to be with you with my colleague, Dr. Kirwan Rockefeller. Together, we teach a course called Imagery for Health, and today we are going to give you a little taste of that in Imagery for Mindfulness. I am on the faculty of the Department of Mind-Body Medicine, and I've been at Saybrook for over 12 years, and I particularly love this course. Kerwin, do you want to say a word or two about yourself?
Well, thank you all for being with us today. It's a pleasure to be here. Luann and I have co-facilitated this course for a number of years here. And imagery is something that I have used my entire life, knowingly and sometimes unknowingly. And I'm also associate professor in the Department of Mind-Body Medicine, do some administrative work within Saybrook University as well. So it is a pleasure to have you all with us today. Thank you.
Great. So we're going to jump right in because this is an experiential workshop and we're going to be leading you through different versions of imagery. Also, we want to give you a little bit of an overview. So why imagery and how do we understand it? Well, we see it as a tool for health and wellness and personal development, and also something that's very playful and fun and can lead to a richer, more deep aesthetic in daily living. As you'll see in our guided exercises, it is non-invasive. There is no cost because your tools are always available to you. There have been no side effects demonstrated. It's easy to learn, comes in lots of different shapes and sizes. It's actually very plentiful if you've got apps on your phone or if you're at all tied into the internet. So it can be easy to learn, but it's also very personal. Everybody's got their own style and their own approach. Shows up as a stress and pain, anxiety reducer, and also helpful in stimulate the immune response as a health and wellness tool that encourages the relaxation response. There is plentiful literature on imagery, and it does show up in different clinical applications, from its use in positive psychology to its use bedside to its use individually. For example, the military has distributed apps to some of its community members and used for various settings to help get through very challenging times. So some of the things that come up out of the literature are its ability to interrupt habitual negative thought, quiet mind, calm the body, open you up to being accessible to your creative problem solving. Because one of the things I like to think about is that our ancestors way back in the beginning had access to the powers of imagination to enhance sense of well-being, also to increase self-management, coping skills, and reduce feelings of helplessness. So we know from the research and looking at mechanisms that science has shown that when people imagine, parts of their brain involved with the senses they're using become very active. So this is back to some extent to the mirror neuron theory, where we can actually conjure up the experience in our very cells simply by imagining it. And something that Kerwin and I share is an idea that imagery is more than visualization, that it actually involves all your senses. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, and he's going to show us exactly how that can work. Kerwin?
Thank you so very much. And on that note, I'd also like to stress that Carl Jung calls this the active imagination, and human beings since the beginning of time have had an imagination. Just imagine, if you will, if someone said, well, what if I rub these two sticks together? I wonder what would happen. So I think the basis of so much of human evolution, of success, of moving forward, comes down to our active imagination, our creative imagination. And our creative imagination isn't just for the artistic, but it is a portal that we all have to access different ways of knowing and understanding in our lives. So yes, it's not just a visualization. That's why we use the more incorporative, inclusive term of imagery, because an image is something that can be felt in a variety of ways. It is how we make sense and make meaning of our world. It is an innate ability that we all have, and it is also a tool that can be refined, that can be honed for what I like to say, what we like to say, insight, hindsight, and foresight. So imagine, if you will, sit yourself comfortably in your chair. You might want to just get a little comfortable here, maybe stretch, and then if you feel so inclined, feel free to focus on your breathing. Breathing slowly and comfortably in and out. There's nothing you need to do. Your body already has a wonderful sense of knowing how to breathe on its own. And you might have heard the phrase that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what I would like to ask you to do is sitting quietly and comfortably in your chair, perhaps letting your gaze soften, or if your eyes close, if you feel so inclined. And allow an image to form in your mind's eye of a lemon, perhaps even a bowl full of juicy, light lemons. And imagine now that you are reaching out and picking up one of these lemons, and you are holding it in your hand, and you feel the sort of waxy texture, maybe squeeze it a little bit, and there might even be some juice coming out of it. Now, I'd like you to imagine picking up a knife and cutting that lemon in half, and slowly bringing that lemon half up to your mouth and biting into that lemon. And are you salivating now? Is your body responding to our painting a picture in your mind's eye? And can you feel the taste? Can you sense the smell of the lemon, the juice perhaps rolling down? And again, maybe a little bit of a pucker in your mouth. You are using a natural affinity for the human mind to imagine. Just imagine. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirwan. We're going to take that one step a little bit deeper. So if you've had your eyes closed, I invite you to open them for just a moment and look around into your environment, because your imagery is very personal and it is very much about the picture that you can create. And one of the things that we know, not only from science, but from years of teaching this and experiencing it, is we can bring ourselves with our power of imagination, our power of full sensorial imagery, to a place we would like to be. And part of the ability to do that, maybe on command or on will, is practice. So I would like to guide us through something now that takes us practicing into nature. We know from many studies and from personal experience that nature and being outdoors in greenery, around water, on the earth, in canyons, up mountains, can all be good for our health, but it's very personal. So whatever beautiful outdoor place calls to you as a place of restoration, I'm going to invite you to take yourself there in your mind's eye. And I will help guide you through exploring it with your full power of imagery. So, to begin, you might want to just take inventory of the beautiful places that you have known that call out to you. And when you have a sense of where you want to take yourself, allow yourself to begin by focusing on your breath and creating the setting within yourself to invite in this full range of possibilities. Focusing on your breath, and allow it to bring you a sense of calm, peace, and settled, a sense of grounding. And then I invite you, because our powers of imagery can be stronger with our eyes closed. So if that's true for you, I invite you to let your eyes go closed and focus on breathing in and out. But if you are better gazing down to a soft space, let that be your portal into this beautiful, welcoming place. Allowing yourself to breathe in and out, first of all, as you imagine yourself crossing a threshold, and with each step, allowing yourself to become fully present with the experience that you create. Breathing in and out. And now as you enter this beautiful place in your mind's eye, which goes beyond what you could see with your natural eye, allow yourself to gaze around and allow yourself to invite in all of your senses, conjuring up your experience of this healing, beautiful place, be it a woods or a garden or a beach, some place that is just in your mind's eye. And now as you let yourself settle in, exploring this environment, look around for 5 things you can see, whatever the see means to you. Let there be color. Let there be light. Find one thing first that you can see with your mind's eye. Breathing in and out. Explore the lines. Is there a sense about it of heaviness or movement? So let there be one thing first, and now move on to the next thing you can see with your mind's eye. And again, is there a sense of color, of brightness, of light or dark? Are there lines or softness? What other things can you see in the second thing that you're exploring in your beautiful, safe, secure place as you're breathing in and out? And you can move on now to a third thing that you can see. See in your mind's eye. See with all of your senses of what sight means, of light, of color, thickness or thinness. Breathing in and out. And when you're done exploring that third thing, allow yourself to find a fourth thing. Perhaps it's something you're very curious about. Perhaps you get a look under it and over it. Perhaps you can move about it and notice if its color changes. Does the light around it change? Does it assume a different shape? Is it growing or perhaps drawing in before your very mind's eye as you're breathing in and out? And now find a fifth thing that you want to explore with your mind's eye. And allow yourself to take in all the things that sight means. The color, the shape, the line, the light, the movement. We see movement. Allow your mind's eye to move around this thing until you've explored it fully. All the while breathing in and breathing out. And you might want to hold on to that full range of possibilities of what your inner sight can bring you. And I invite you now to bring in another sensorial experience, another image, an image of things you can touch, that you can touch in your internal sense of proprioception, interoception, kinesthetics. And in your mind's eye, allow yourself to imagine touching that thing of wonder. Is it soft, smooth? Is it rigid? Can you feel cracks and fissures? Does it feel warm or cool? And what is the texture of this thing that you can touch? And notice if that inner felt sense has any meaning for you. Perhaps it can take you to a second thing you can touch. Locate a second thing you can touch, and in your inner sense, allow yourself to explore it, perhaps with the fingertips of your mind's eye, or the back of your hand, or the side of your arm, or the length of your thigh. A second thing you can touch in this beautiful place, this place of your making that restores and nurtures you. Breathing in and breathing out. And now allow yourself, if you're ready, to move to a third thing you can touch, touching in your mind's eye, your inner sense. Is it still under your sense of touch, or does it move? Perhaps there's a vibration to it, or an undulation to it. Is there a warmth, a coolness, a dryness, a texture of moisture? And all the while you're breathing in and breathing out. And if you're ready to go on to a fourth thing you can touch, you might imagine this time that you're touching from the entire inside of you. And notice if from the inside the thing you're touching has a texture, has a temperature. Is Is it smooth? Is it raised? Is it rigid? Is it soft? What can you feel in this fourth thing you can touch from the inside? In your beautiful, warm, comfortable, or cool, nurturing place. Breathing in and breathing out. You might want to pause here and notice that you can hold on to the things that you can see in your mind's eye at the same time that you can touch. And if there's space, allow yourself to invite in an awareness of things you can hear, beginning with the first thing you can hear. And what is the first thing you notice hearing in this place? Perhaps it's a rustling of a wind or a crackling of a branch or the chirping of a bird or the croaking of a frog. Breathing in, breathing out. And now notice the second thing you can hear in this place of beauty, wonder, calm, sanctuary. Is that pitch high? Is it low? Is there a melody or a harmony? Is there a high pitch or a low pitch? All the while breathing in, breathing out. And invite yourself to find a third thing that you can hear in this place. As you're breathing in and out, notice perhaps it's voices or children's laughter or a distant bell ringing or the chimes in the wind. And notice how that sound hears in your mind's eye. Can it bring you peace, equilibrium, sense of grounding as you breathe in and out? And now I invite you to continue to explore this place and see if you can invite in your sense of awareness of smelling, of odors, of aromas, and identify one thing you can smell, one thing to smell in this place, this sanctuary, special place. Oh, and smell is sometimes a languageless sensation. But see if you can take it in and if any words come up for you. Is it sweet? Is it sour? Is it pungent? Does it conjure up a whole spaciousness or being enraptured in something? Breathing in and out. And if you can bring in one more thing you can smell into your awareness, an awareness of one more thing. Maybe you have to move around your beautiful special place to get to it. And notice how our senses call us to move. If in your real world you find yourself swaying ever so gently, allow that to be. Breathing in and out. And as you breathe in again, notice that smells often take us to one thing we can taste. And if it's comfortable for you, invite in an awareness of a memory of some taste of sweetness or sour or bitter or pungent, salty. And as you allow that to roll around your tongue and your mouth, notice if it brings you back to a smell. Breathing in, breathing out. And perhaps the smell brings you back to something that you heard, or many things you heard, and some of which you can touch in your beautiful, special place. And you might also invite in what you could see in your mind's eye and a deeper awareness as all of your senses swirl together, and what you could see, what you could touch, what you could hear, what you can smell and taste in this beautiful place that gives you rest and perhaps inspiration. And I invite you to take a minute, to rest here, swirling around all of the senses that serve you, the senses that nourish you, the senses that bring you to new and even more beautiful layers and levels. Breathing in, breathing out. And while you're here, take a few more generous, gentle breaths in and out. And if there's any message, any words that come up for you, that's fine. But simply mostly allow yourself to be with this place in your mind's eye that you can come back to. You can come back there anytime. But soon I'm going to ask you if it's comfortable for you to get ready to leave this place, to go on to your next adventure. So you might see yourself gradually and at your own pace approaching whatever portal brought you into this garden, this ocean, this forest, this place that's special for you. And begin to come back, gradually coming back. And let your breath help carry you to a sense of awareness that you are also in a room. And you're joined to me through my voice, through your computer or your device. You might begin to move your fingers and toes and your shoulders and your head and sway as you start to come back. Breathing in, sighing out. And when you're ready, I invite you to gently open your eyes and join me in the space we share. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague now.
Oh, I'm sure you all join me in deep appreciation for that beautiful session that Luann was able to lead us through. I'm going to suggest a simple pause right now. You might want to stretch your arms or move a little bit, just opening your eyes when it's feel comfortable to do so, and coming back to this day, place, and time right now. We're going to go a little deeper in just a moment, but to set the stage for our next continuation of that. You know, it's interesting because I will sometimes say to people, do you use imagery? And they say, oh, no, I never use imagery, or I've heard of it, but, you know, I don't really do that. But I beg to differ. I would ask you to consider what I have experienced in my life and with a number of colleagues and clients that I worked with, is that we all use imagery and don't even know it when we worry, when we ruminate, when we are consumed by this, oh my God, what will happen? What's going to go? What do I do? And what will they say? And what will I say? And what? And how about this? And so we all have a sense of this voice that can sometimes or presence in our life that criticizes us, that thinks that we are less than, that we're not as important as. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? And no, that's not going to happen. And you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that. And it's like, no, just stop and just sort of stop in your tracks. And we refer to this as the inner critic that stops us cold and can fill us with self-doubt. And that is the number one way that I have found working with clients for a number of years, that they actually use worry. And it's a basic part of our physiology, fight or flight or freeze, when we just sort of settle in and we just become encumbered by these thoughts. However, we also all have a part of ourselves, a part of our consciousness, our souls, our minds, an inner advisor. An inner advisor, a presence that knows, a feeling, a sensation that knows what is true and authentic for us. And again, we call this the inner advisor. Could be an inner guide, could be angels or support systems in any way. But this presence, this energy that we have, I just like to think of it as an internal resource, that it is our own way of creative problem solving, of thinking outside the box, and thinking about new perceptions and new attitudes and new steps. And perhaps it's just one little baby step at a time to perhaps move forward or resolve an issue. And just like Luann said with our sacred haven, the sanctuary that you were in, we can also access this wise, loving presence within ourselves anytime. So let us now take a moment to go back to this space that we were, and to prepare to meet, communicate with some sort of a presence, an entity, remembering that there's no right or wrong. There just is. And I'll give you a little bit of a sneak preview. The visual, the image here on this screen right now sort of represents my inner advisor, a loving guy. He's kind of funny. He's always wearing Hawaiian shirts and Hawaiian clothes. And he just kind of reminds me just to sort of, get out of my head, take a break. So let us now enter back into this place, allowing your eyes to close gently, beginning to sense your breathing, breathing in and breathing out, and calling to mind this place again where you can see things, where you might hear things, taste, imagine, and move in a certain way. And as you go back to this haven, this sanctuary, this beautiful place, hopefully preferably outdoors, but it can be any place, imagine that just in a little bit of a distance, there is a person, real or imaginary, dead or alive, or an animal, or some sort of a symbol, or a sign that is looking your way, and you are looking at its way. And you sense a connection, a knowingness, a presence that may have been with you all your life, that knows you deeply, that cares about you. Make eye contact with this being, this entity, this animal, this spirit, however this appears to you, or however you might sense this presence that knows you deeply. Smile. Welcome this creature, this entity, this presence, this animal, this person a little closer. You might even want to reach out and touch it. Just about every loving creature in the universe loves to have its face caressed. You might offer it a morsel of food, perhaps something to drink. And as this presence becomes a little closer. Now, usually, they will answer maybe one or two questions that you might have. It could be a question about your present. This could be about a question, something in your past. This could be a question about something in your future, personally or professionally, whatever just sort of a question you might have. Ask this question of this advisor and quietly hold the answer in your heart and in your mind's eye. That's right. Commune with this entity. Commune with this energy, this being, and receive the answer. Breathing in and breathing out. Now thank this creature, this loving entity, for its wisdom, perhaps some answers. If something came, okay. If nothing came, okay. That may come later. Thank this creature for their presence and being with you today. And before we say goodbye to this presence, ask if it has a name. There is great power in naming. And receive the name and thank this image, knowing that it is available to you at all times anytime, any place, by calling forth the memory, calling forth the name. And make a simple contract right now, right here, with this particular loving presence, that you will touch back in with it in 24 hours, in one day, by calling it forth. And now as we begin to come back to this day, this time, this place, allow all of these images just to fade. Allow them all to fade, giving thanks for what has appeared and presented. And now perhaps wiggling your toes and fingers and taking big, deep breaths, stretching wide and up to the sun. And coming back to this day, this place, this time. Feeling more calm and more at peace than you were even a moment ago. Coming back, and welcome back. Open your eyes and being present with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirwan. And you also demonstrated not only one of the wonderful ways we can use imagery to tap into our inner power and our resources and our guides, but also something we suggest in our workshop work is there are stages of fully engaging your powers of imagery, beginning with creating a setting. So simply by coming here today and turning on your device and making yourself comfortable, however that means for you, you created a setting. And then we invite everyone to get centered, whatever, again, that means, whether it's following your breath or um, maybe simply just closing your eyes. It's a good thing to remember to breathe out. And then the third thing we suggest is the giving yourself permission to go deep inside and to welcome in and to suspend disbelief and to feel a sense of safety before you actually then take the fourth step, which is guiding yourself through whatever that imagery session is going to be. And sometimes we don't know. Sometimes it's open ended. Sometimes we're doing it with a partner. Sometimes we're doing it with an app or a tape. And sometimes we're by ourselves following our intuition. But then that last step that Kirwan showed us so beautifully is be sure to come back slowly, to give some gratitude, and to come to closure with that imagery session, whatever it was. And now in this in-between space, I invite you to take some breaths. And I'm going to take us on a different kind of imagining now, because imagery comes in all shapes and sizes. And in this particular imagery, I'm going to invite you to keep your eyes open, if that's comfortable for you. And if you can see the image that's in front of you on your screen, I'm going to actually invite you either with the lasers that you can imagine coming out of your eyes. You can imagine that you have lasers coming out of the pupils of your eye acting as a stylus. Or if you'd like, this imagery allows you to engage movement, starting with your finger or a stylus that you may have nearby. And if it's okay for your device, and you might ask permission first of all, I'm going to take you into an image of a labyrinth. Now, if you've walked labyrinths before, you might be able to do this without this device. Without this tool, you might be able to do it in your mind's eye. Also, if you've walked labyrinths on your own, you know that you can do it at your own pace. I'm going to be following a tradition that comes out of um, a, a Christian Western tradition of walking labyrinths, but there are labyrinths all over the world, and there have been for centuries. And they show up in different places, in nature, in cathedrals, in people's gardens. This particular image is actually from the Finger Labyrinth Travel Cards series that you can find online. And in this approach to labyrinth walking, you'll notice that a labyrinth, unlike a maze, has only one direction. You go in, you get to the center, and you come out. In the tradition that I'm going to suggest, the ingoing is a time of releasing. The center is a time of receiving or illumination, or perhaps getting an insight, or sometimes just taking a rest. And the outside is a time of returning or coming together, synthesizing. And the way you walk the labyrinth is to follow in between the lines where the path is. And in the tradition of labyrinth walking, I invite you all now to take a pause, and whatever it means to take a bit of inner bow. And when you feel so ready, using your finger or your eye, begin to trace in through the labyrinth. With the opening you'll find at the bottom of your screen, take your first step in, because it all begins with the first step. And now as you're gradually tracing your finger up through the labyrinth path between the walls, notice that it contains you. It is a safe place. And imagine that you can release any of the burdens or heaviness that might be weighing on you. And if you need to, take a pause to be sure to breathe in and out. And when you're ready, continue to move down the path or up the path or around the curves once again. And you might notice if there are any images that come up in your mind's eye, even with your eyes open, as you're breathing in and out. You might notice how the path feels, your sense of touching the path with your fingers in your mind's eye at your feet. Breathing in and out, allowing yourself this time to let go and notice the images that you're releasing. Breathing in and out. You might notice if there are any sounds that accompany your journey in through the labyrinth, making a return along with you, weaving in, weaving out. Oh, and is there a smell? Any odors that come along with this labyrinth walk? As you sigh out, allow yourself to breathe out. And there might even be a taste that shows up for you as you trace your path through the labyrinth and eventually find yourself in the center. When you get to the center with your finger or your stylus or in your mind's eye, give yourself a pause, breathing in and out, and take just a moment. And if you'd like to let your eyes go closed, to see if the center has any insight to offer you. You've now released some things, some smells, some sights, some sounds, some tastes, some touches. Is there anything Any message here? Your inner advisor might even pop up. And take another generous, gentle breath in. And if in your mind's eye maybe you were squatting or standing or sitting in this center, allow yourself a sense that you can come back here on your own time. But because we're on a group tour, I'm about to ask you to come back out with me. So now turn yourself around and face outward from the very center and begin retracing your footsteps, your path, down out from the center of the labyrinth and following the path. Noticing, are there any reflections coming along with you? Are there any images that are coming up? And sometimes, as we've seen, an image is more than a color or a shape or a line. Sometimes an image is a sound or a touch. And continue tracing along the path. Continue tracing, following the curves. See if anything comes up for you. Breathing in, breathing out. And if you feel like you need to pause at a turn, take a deeper breath in, you can do that too. This is your labyrinth and you can walk it at your own pace. And following the path out, in interest of the group tour, I invite you to begin to approaching the opening once again, ever so gently. And as you see the opening up ahead, before you cross over, take a pause. And with your eyes open or closed, take a few generous breaths in and out. And you might allow yourself to notice any awareness, anything that's come to you during this time in the labyrinth. And in your mind's eye, you might even send a little note of gratitude to this space, to this process, and to the vast capacity of your imagination. And when you're ready, move your finger or those little mind's eye radars and cross out from the labyrinth opening and into the space beyond. And we invite you to take a generous breath in and maybe a stretch. You might just want to take a moment to see if there's anything that you want to notice. When we do this in longer workshops, we invite our participants to bring in journals and pens and papers and even colors and textures that can be turned into vision boards and ways of holding on to some of the images and the visions that come up for you. But right now, I'd invite you to come out of the labyrinth at your own pace and ever so gently come back to us. In a moment, we're going to open it up for questions, but I want to take just a time now to thank you for being with us today, to thank my colleague, Dr. Rockefeller, for joining me in this venture, and all of you for being with us. And as I said, in a moment, we will stop the recording and open things up. Kirwan, is there anything you would like to add at
I'd
this
just like
point?
to add my deep appreciation to you, Luann Fortune, for leading us through that. And to our colleagues here, these are very personal and very private experiences. I do encourage you to maybe jot something down in a journal write something down, you might doodle, you might draw something, just to be gentle with yourself, because we spend a lot of time in the imaginal realm this today. We don't usually spend a lot of time there. But just to be compassionate with yourself, practice self-care, allow yourself to be open to the thoughts and the images and the synchronicity that may happen to you in the next 24 hours as well. Just sort of be aware. Pay attention, signs, symbols, messages, thoughts that come into your consciousness. And thank you all for being here.